My stepmother tried to have me declared mentally incompetent to steal my $80 million inheritance. The hidden camera footage I collected destroyed her in ways she never saw coming. I knew something was wrong the moment Vivian started being nice to me. My stepmother had married my father 18 months earlier, 3 years after my mother passed away from cancer. Vivian was 42. My father was 71. The math wasn't hard to calculate. From day one, she'd treated me like an inconvenient obstacle. Cold politeness at family dinners. Pointed comments about how I needed to find my own way instead of relying on family money. Suggestions that I should move out of the family estate even though I'd lived there my entire life. Then suddenly everything changed. It started with a phone call. "Cameron, sweetheart, I've been thinking about you. Your father and I are worried. You've seemed so stressed lately. So scattered." Sweetheart. She'd never called me that before. "I'm fine, Vivian. Just busy with work." That's exactly what concerns us. You're working yourself too hard. Making impulsive decisions. Your father mentioned you've been forgetting appointments. I'd missed one lunch with him because of a work emergency. "1. I think it would be good for you to talk to someone," she continued, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Dr. Raymond Peterson. He's a wonderful psychiatrist. Very discreet. He's helped so many people in our social circle." "I don't need a psychiatrist." "Of course not, dear. Think of it as preventative care. Just a few sessions to help manage stress. For your father's peace of mind." I said I'd think about it, mostly to end the conversation. The calls continued. 3 times a week. Always with the same concerned tone. Always mentioning my father's worry. Always pushing Dr. Peterson. Then my father started in. At dinner one evening, he brought it up with Vivian sitting beside him, looking concerned. "Cameron, Vivian's worried about you. So am I. You've been distant. Forgetting things. Maybe talking to someone would help." "Dad, I'm fine. I've been busy launching the new project at work. That's all." Vivian touched his arm. "See, darling? He doesn't even recognize the signs. That's exactly what Dr. Peterson warned us about." "Warned you? You already talked to him about me." "Just general questions," she said smoothly. "About stress and cognitive decline in young people. It's more common than you think." Cognitive decline. I was 32 years old. Something clicked in my brain. This wasn't concern. This was strategy. I started paying closer attention. Watching how Vivian maneuvered conversations. How she'd say things to my father when I wasn't around, then act completely different when I was present. I noticed how she'd move her office into my father's study. How she'd taken over managing his calendar, his medications, his finances. How she'd slowly isolated him from his longtime friends and business associates. Then I got the letter. It arrived via certified mail. Legal letterhead. Peterson, Walsh & Associates, attorneys at law. Notice of competency hearing. In the matter of Cameron Theodore Ashworth. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. Vivian had filed a petition to have me declared mentally incompetent. The hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks away. She'd attached a statement from Dr. Raymond Peterson, the psychiatrist I'd never even met, stating concerns about my deteriorating mental state based on secondhand observations and family reports. She'd also attached testimonials from 3 people I barely knew claiming I'd exhibited erratic behavior at various social functions. The petition requested that a conservator be appointed to manage my financial affairs. It helpfully suggested Vivian herself as the appropriate candidate. My inheritance from my mother was held in a trust. I'd receive full control when I turned 35, or if certain conditions were met. Until then, trustees managed it, but I had significant input on decisions. Unless I was declared incompetent. Then control would default to my next of kin, my father, who would undoubtedly let his devoted wife handle the details. $80 million. That's what my mother's trust was worth. What Vivian was trying to steal by having me declared insane. I sat in my apartment. I'd moved out 6 months ago despite the tension, holding this letter and feeling my blood turn to ice. Then I called my attorney. Mitchell Kaufman had been my mother's attorney and was still one of the trustees of her estate. When I called him about the petition, there was a long silence. "That calculating bitch," he said finally. "Sorry, Cameron, but this is one of the most transparently greedy moves I've seen in 30 years of practice. Can she actually do this? She can file the petition. Whether she can win depends on evidence, which, based on what you're telling me, she doesn't have. But incompetency hearings can be messy. Judges err on the side of caution. If she can paint even a remotely convincing picture. Then what do? We fight it, and we gather our own evidence. Cameron, I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there anything in your behavior or history she could use? Any mental health treatment? Any incidents she could twist?" "Nothing. I've never seen a therapist. Never been diagnosed with anything. I'm completely stable." "Good. Then we prove it. We get you evaluated by independent psychiatrists. We document your professional competence. We show the judge this is a money grab, pure and simple. That's not enough. Excuse me. Mitchell, defense isn't enough. I want to destroy her. What else can we do? There was approval in his voice when he responded. Now you're thinking like your mother. She'd be proud. Okay, let's play offense. Over the next 6 weeks, I became obsessed. I documented everything. Every conversation with Vivian, I recorded on my phone. New York is a one-party consent state, so I didn't need her permission. I called her frequently, asking innocent questions about my father's health, his mood, his daily routine. Let her think I was a concerned son. She couldn't help herself. With each conversation, she'd drop little hints about how worried she was about me. How my father was heartbroken at my decline. How she hoped I'd get the help I needed. Every word recorded and time-stamped. I hired a private investigator, former FBI. She came highly recommended for discretion and thoroughness. I need everything you can find on Vivian Ashworth, formerly Vivian Blackwell, financial history, previous relationships, legal records, everything. That's a broad request. I have a broad budget, and 6 weeks. She nodded. I'll start immediately. I went to my father's estate and had a conversation with Margaret, his housekeeper of 20 years. Margaret, I need your honest opinion. How is my father really doing? Mentally, I mean. She looked around nervously. Your father is sharp as ever, Mr. Cameron. Same as he's always been. Maybe moves a bit slower, but his mind is perfect. And Vivian, how does she treat him? Margaret's expression hardened. It's not my place to say. Please, this is important. She controls everything. His schedule, his meals, his medications, who he talks to. She's always there. Your father barely makes a decision without her input anymore. And she's been going through his files, his business records. I've seen her in his study late at night going through documents. Has she changed anything about his routine? His medications? She said his doctors adjusted them, but Mr. Ashworth seems more tired lately. More confused sometimes. It's subtle, but it's there. A cold suspicion formed. Margaret, would you be willing to testify to what you've told me? If it helps Mr. Ashworth, yes. One more thing. Could you let me into the estate when Vivian's out? I need to check something in my father's study. She hesitated, then nodded. She has a charity lunch Thursday, noon to 3. Thursday at noon, I walked into my childhood home with a small bag. Inside were 3 tiny cameras, nearly invisible, with audio recording capability. I placed one behind books on my father's study bookshelf, aimed at his desk where Vivian now worked. One inside a decorative clock on the mantel. One inside a lamp on the side table. All of them wirelessly connected to cloud storage. Everything they recorded would be backed up automatically. Thank you, Margaret, I said on my way out. You're helping my father more than you know. The cameras started recording immediately. I monitored the feeds from my laptop, watching hours of nothing. Vivian working. My father reading. Normal domestic scenes. Then on day 3, I hit gold. Vivian was alone in the study. She pulled out her phone and called someone. Raymond, it's me. How soon can you have the paperwork ready? Good. Make sure the diagnosis is ironclad. I need words like delusional and financially irresponsible. I don't care if you haven't examined him. You're the expert. That's what I'm paying you for. Raymond, Dr. Raymond Peterson, the psychiatrist who provided the professional opinion for her petition. She hung up and immediately called someone else. Daddy, it's going perfectly. The hearing is in 3 weeks. Once the judge declares him incompetent, I'll have access to the trust. No, the old man doesn't suspect anything. He thinks I'm protecting his son. 80 million, plus whatever I can drain from his accounts before anyone notices. I recorded every word, every damning sentence. But the best was yet to come. 2 days before the hearing, Vivian was in the study practicing, actually rehearsing her testimony like an actress preparing for a role. She stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her expression to concerned and sorrowful. Your Honor, it breaks my heart to be here, but I must think of Cameron's well-being. She paused, reset her face, tried again with more tears in her voice. It's been so difficult watching his decline. The erratic decisions, the paranoid accusations. She practiced for 20 minutes. Different intonations, different facial expressions, perfecting her performance of the concerned stepmother. Then she sat at the desk, pulled out a calculator, and started running numbers. I watched her write down figures. My trust amount, my father's liquid assets, property values. She was calculating her haul. When she finished, she actually smiled at the numbers and said out loud, worth every penny I paid that lawyer. Meanwhile, the private investigator delivered her findings. Vivian's real name was Vivian Blackwell Morrison Ashworth. 3 previous marriages, all to wealthy older men, all ending in divorce with significant settlements. But the most interesting part was 15 years ago. She'd filed for bankruptcy after a failed business venture. The court documents included accusations of fraud from multiple investors who claimed she'd misrepresented financial information. No criminal charges were ever filed, but the civil suits were settled out of court. Sealed records, but my investigator found them. She has a pattern, the investigator explained. Marry money. Extract money. Move on. Your father is her fourth attempt. And based on the timeline, this is her most ambitious yet. Did my father know about any of this? The bankruptcies and fraud allegations were buried. Sealed records. Different last names. Unless he did a very thorough background check, he wouldn't have found it. She's good at covering her tracks. Except this time, she didn't know she was being watched. I had everything. The recordings of her coaching Dr. Peterson, the practice testimony, the financial calculations, her phone calls revealing the conspiracy, her hidden past showing a pattern of exactly this behavior. Mitchell reviewed everything with growing satisfaction. This is better than I could have hoped. We're not just defeating her petition, Cameron. We're burying her. What about criminal charges? Conspiracy to commit fraud, potentially. The DA will have to decide. But at minimum, this ends any claim she has to your father's money or yours. Good. I want her gone. Completely. The night before the hearing, I visited my father. Vivian wasn't home. Margaret had helped arrange it. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. Confused when I walked in. Cameron, what are you doing here? I came to see you, Dad. How are you feeling? Tired. Vivian says I need to rest more. She's been so good about managing everything. Dad, what medications are you taking? He waved vaguely toward the kitchen. Vivian handles all that. Keeps track of everything. I went to the kitchen and found his medication organizer. Checked the bottles against the labels. Then I photographed everything and sent it to Mitchell. His response came back in minutes. Get him to a doctor. Now, some of these medications shouldn't be combined. They could cause cognitive impairment. My blood ran cold. She wasn't just stealing his money. She was drugging him to make him compliant. The hearing was in a small courtroom. Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. Vivian's attorney, a slick-looking man named Douglas Wright, sat with her at one table. She wore a conservative dress and an expression of deep concern. I sat with Mitchell at the other table. I wore a suit, looked professional, calm, completely competent. The judge reviewed the petition, then looked at me. Mr. Ashworth, do you understand why we're here today? Yes, Your Honor. My stepmother has filed a petition claiming I'm mentally incompetent to manage my own affairs. It's completely false, and I can prove it. We'll hear evidence from both sides. Mr. Wright, you may begin. Vivian's attorney called Dr. Peterson first. He took the stand, all professional authority, in his expensive suit. Dr. Peterson, you provided a written statement expressing concern about Mr. Ashworth's mental state. Can you elaborate? Certainly. Based on detailed reports from family members, particularly Mrs. Ashworth, I have serious concerns about Mr. Cameron Ashworth's cognitive function and decision-making capacity. What specific concerns? Erratic behavior, impulsive financial decisions, paranoid thinking, inability to maintain relationships or employment. These are consistent with early-onset cognitive decline or possible psychiatric illness. And in your professional opinion, is Mr. Ashworth capable of managing his own affairs? I would recommend a full psychological evaluation and possible conservatorship until his condition can be properly assessed and treated. Mitchell stood. Your Honor, I'd like to cross-examine. Proceed. Dr. Peterson, have you ever met my client? Not in person, no, but have you ever examined him, spoken to him, observed him directly in any capacity? No, but the family reports were quite detailed. So your entire professional opinion is based on second-hand information from Mrs. Ashworth. Mrs. Ashworth is a concerned family member who stands to gain control of $80 million if this petition is granted. But we'll come back to that. How long have you known Mrs. Ashworth, Doctor? She's been a patient for about a year. A patient? And how much has she paid you for your services during that time? Dr. Peterson's face reddened. I don't see how that's relevant. I'll rephrase. Have you received any payments from Mrs. Ashworth beyond your normal therapy fees? She compensated me for my time in preparing this evaluation. How much? $15,000. Murmurs in the courtroom. The judge looked interested. $15,000 for an evaluation of someone you never met. That's quite generous. No further questions. Next, Vivian took the stand. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue as her attorney questioned her. Mrs. Ashworth, this must be very difficult for you. It is. I love Cameron like he's my own son, but I can't ignore what I've seen. The mood swings. The irrational decisions. He's not the man he used to be. Can you give specific examples? He missed important family events. made bizarre accusations about me trying to control his father, became hostile and paranoid. Last month, he accused me of poisoning his father. It's heartbreaking to watch. She was good. Her voice trembled. Her eyes glistened. Perfect performance. Mrs. Ashworth, why are you willing to take on the burden of managing Cameron's affairs? Because someone has to protect him. His mother would have wanted me to look after him. It's my duty as his stepmother and as someone who cares about this family. Her attorney sat down looking satisfied. Mitchell stood slowly. Mrs. Ashworth, how long have you been married to Cameron's father? 18 months. And before that, how long did you know him? We dated for about 6 months. So you've been part of this family for 2 years total. Yet you claim to know Cameron well enough to declare him incompetent. I know what I've observed. Let's talk about what you've observed. Your Honor, I'd like to introduce evidence. Mitchell set up a laptop connected to the courtroom screen. This is video footage from Cameron's father's home study, recorded over the past 3 weeks with proper consent from a property owner. He pressed play. The courtroom watched Vivian's phone conversation with Dr. Peterson. Her voice clear and damning. I don't care if you haven't examined him. You're the expert. That's what I'm paying you for. Vivian's face went white. The next clip showed her practicing her testimony. It breaks my heart to be here, the erratic decisions, the paranoid accusations. Then sitting at the desk calculating her haul. Worth every penny I paid that lawyer. The courtroom was dead silent. Your Honor, I have additional evidence. Mitchell handed the judge a file. Background investigation showing Mrs. Ashworth's 3 previous marriages to wealthy men. Her bankruptcy filing 15 years ago. Multiple fraud accusations that were settled out of court. He played another recording. Vivian's call to her father. Once the judge declares him incompetent, I'll have access to the trust. 80 million. Plus whatever I can drain from his accounts. Vivian was shaking now. Her attorney looked like he wanted to disappear. Finally, Your Honor, medical evidence. Mitchell presented the medication bottles. Mrs. Ashworth has been administering a combination of medications to Cameron's father that, according to 3 independent doctors, could cause cognitive impairment and confusion. We believe she's been deliberately drugging her husband to make him easier to manipulate. Judge Morrison's expression had gone from neutral to furious. I'd also like to submit psychiatric evaluations from 3 independent doctors who have actually examined my client. All confirm Cameron Ashworth is completely mentally competent. Additionally, documentation of his successful career, financial records showing responsible management of his existing assets, and testimony from colleagues, friends, and his father's longtime staff. The judge looked at Vivian with contempt. Mrs. Ashworth, do you have anything to say? Vivian's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we'd like to request a continuance. Denied. I've seen enough. This petition is dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, I'm ordering an investigation into potential fraud and elder abuse charges. Mrs. Ashworth, you're to have no contact with Cameron Ashworth or access to any of his father's financial accounts pending further investigation. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. The DA filed charges 3 days later. Conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft, elder abuse for the medication manipulation. Vivian's bail was set at $500,000. Her father apparently refused to pay it. She spent 2 weeks in jail before someone posted it. My father was hospitalized immediately after the hearing. The doctors confirmed what we suspected. The medication combination Vivian had been giving him was causing confusion and cognitive impairment. Within a week of stopping them, he was dramatically clearer. When he was strong enough, I visited him in the hospital. Cameron. He took my hand, tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry. I should have seen what she was doing. It's not your fault, Dad. She was good at manipulation. She said she loved me, that she wanted to protect our family. And the whole time. I know. How did you know to investigate? To record her? Mom taught me to trust my instincts. Something felt wrong from the beginning. I just had to prove it. He squeezed my hand. Your mother would be proud. You're exactly like her. Smart, strategic, protective of the people you love. I learned from the best. My father filed for divorce immediately. The prenup he'd insisted on, despite Vivian's protests, meant she got essentially nothing. No alimony, no property settlement, just whatever she'd brought into the marriage, which was nothing. The criminal case took 8 months. Vivian's lawyer tried to cut a deal, but the DA wasn't interested in mercy. The trial was quick. The evidence was overwhelming. Video footage, recordings, financial records, medical testimony about the medication. The jury convicted on all counts. Judge Morrison, who'd presided over the competency hearing, requested to handle sentencing. Mrs. Ashworth, she said, looking down from the bench, you attempted to steal from a man who trusted you. You tried to have his son declared incompetent through fraud and perjury. You drugged your husband to make him easier to control. These are not crimes of desperation. These are calculated acts of greed. I sentence you to 6 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy, 2 years for elder abuse, to run consecutively, 8 years total. And I'm ordering you to repay all money you extracted from Mr. Theodore Ashworth's accounts, which amounts to approximately $2 million. Vivian was let out in handcuffs. She looked at me once with pure hatred. I smiled and waved. My father recovered fully, moved back into his estate with Margaret running things again. He was sharper than I'd seen him in years. I'm making some changes, he told me over dinner one evening. Setting up the estate planning differently. Making sure what happened with Vivian can never happen again. Good. And Cameron, I want you to know, your mother's trust is secure. Always has been. But I'm adding you to mine as well. Joint control of everything. I trust you. I should have trusted you more when Vivian was feeding me lies. Thank you, Dad. I'm also setting up a foundation in your mother's name to help families dealing with elder abuse. Fund legal help for people who can't afford to fight predators like Vivian. I want you to run it. We launched the Sarah Ashworth Protection Foundation 6 months later. Fully funded. Professional staff. Free legal services for elder abuse victims. Every case we take, every family we help, I think about how close Vivian came to succeeding. How many others like her get away with it because their victims don't have resources to fight back. Mitchell stayed on as the foundation's legal director. The private investigator I'd hired became our head of investigation services. We've helped 83 families in our first year. Stopped predators. Protected vulnerable people. Made sure others didn't lose what Vivian almost stole from us. My relationship with my father is better than it's been in years. We have dinner weekly. Talk regularly. He's dating again, very cautiously, with thorough background checks. And me? I'm 33 now. Still managing my career. Still learning. Still grateful my mother taught me to trust my instincts and gather evidence. The best defense against a predator isn't hope or trust. It's a sharper mind and a hidden camera. 6 months after Vivian's sentencing, I received a letter from her in prison. It was short. You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. I wrote back. You tried to destroy mine and failed. The difference is I was smarter. Learn from it. I never heard from her again. The inheritance is secure. My father is healthy. Vivian is in prison where she belongs. But the real victory isn't the money or the justice. It's knowing I protected my family. That I was smart enough to see through the manipulation and strategic enough to document everything. My mother always said, trust people until they give you a reason not to. Then trust your instincts completely. Vivian gave me plenty of reasons. And my instincts were right. Thanks for listening. If you made it to the end, share your own story. Have you ever dealt with a predator in your family? How did you protect yourself? Until next time, remember, document everything, trust your gut, and never underestimate the power of a well-placed hidden camera.